there's a story about my teammate, Bruce Campbell, in this book. Bruce grew up without a dad. He was raised by his mom and his grandmother. And out of high school, his girlfriend got pregnant. They got married. And he went to work for the railroad. And when he was 21 years old, he had 3 kids, 3 boys under the age of 4. And his wife ran off with a guitar player in a rock band. And so he's 21 years old, he's got no college, he's working in the railroad, and he's got three babies. And never has had a male role model in his life, never had a dad. And when you talk to him about how he figured this out, he went back and he thought about the experiences he had with his team, and he thought about the coaches and how they had parented him, and that was what he emulated as a dad. And he raised those 3 boys, and they all played on the championship football team. So you have impacts on these kids you have no idea about. That night, the quote that Mike talked about came from Coach Burns. We went around the room, and it was started off at the end of the evening. I said, before everybody goes home, why don't you take 5 minutes to talk about how your life turns out? And story after story comes out about the experiences that they had from this team, these coaches, this school, were life-changing and life-formative. The coaches, 2 tough guys, are in tears. And Pancho couldn't talk. He was speechless. And that's what Burns said. That's what he got up and said. I've done a lot of studying about leadership in business because that's my vocation. University of Minnesota's done a lot of studying about leadership. And the singular factor that they identified to be a successful leader is authenticity. That you got to walk your talk. And so I would kind of say to you coaches, the way you lead your life and the example you set for your kids and the way you treat them is what gives them the ultimate experience. Are you coaching these kids for life, and are you living your life that way? I had the privilege of being at Notre Dame about a month ago. There was a professor there, Clark Powers, who's developed a curriculum for teaching coaches how to be better coaches. And it's a great venue. Maybe you can talk Jim or Matt into sending somebody next year. They use every resource the University of Notre Dame has. You eat dinner in the press box in the football stadium, you eat dinner in the field house, you get every coach has a session on various philosophies of coaching. No X's, no O's. But they have an acronym they call GROW, which is goals, relationships, ownership, and winning. But their whole program is built around family, around faith, around how you live your life, and the relationships that you create with your players and they create with each other is a lifelong experience. And this is a good example, but I can tell you from my experience that thousands of these books could be written in America. Probably every guy in this room, every woman in this room could write a book about one of those coaches. The odd thing for coaches and teachers is you don't hear much of it. You know, these coaches had no idea until that banquet they had any impact on these guys. They went there thinking, well, it'll be good to see these guys and we could talk about winning football games. It was a testimony to their life and the richness of their life that they had no idea that they had impacted people. So when I think about being in your shoes, and I've been there, I've coached for 5 or 6 years, The most difficult times for me as a coach were taking kids that were under-talented and under-motivated and not giving up on them. Man, it's hard to take a bunch of kids that are half-hearted and try to make something out of them. But tenacity, courage in your profession, professionalism, ultimately has an impact on these kids' lives. And I think you have to have faith that you're making a difference. In 2002, as I was organizing the reunion of the 62 Mustangs, I was diagnosed with cancer. 6.5 hours later, 2 ribs and part of a lung. I was laying in the University of Minnesota hospital with 2 thoughts. I've won so far, but am I running out of time? Number 2, does God still have a plan for me? Or is this the beginning of the end? In 2003, Taylor and myself and 10 other friends, 25-year business associates through Young Presidents Organization, traveled to Guatemala to investigate building a high school and grade school in the slums of Guatemala City. The 12 of us donated $2 million to build this school. 2 years ago, we attended the dedication of the school. And as we sat in the front row, honored guests, 600 children, 500 families came to celebrate. The impact hit us. As I looked at my friends, I saw tears streaming down their cheeks. We brought hope to 500 families. They'd rise above despair. 600 kids' lives would be changed forever. As I sat there, 3 thoughts crossed my mind. Thinking back to the University of Minnesota hospital 6 years before, now I understood God's plan for me. Business, number 2, business is what I do, not football anymore, but this is who I am. Number 3, success in our society is measured in material things. That's not what's important. Significance is what counts. It's the stuff of the heart. Lesson number 11, it's not success that counts, it's significance. So as we honor you coaches tonight, you do significant work. Do it with pride. You're doing God's work. Thank you for all you do for our young people and all you do for America. And as you coach your young student athletes, ask yourself one question. 40 years from now, if your players write a book about you, what will it say?